lucky, blessed to have Laurel Stone, and I can't remember her title, but if most people in Tullahoma know her, I believe. But I always love seeing Laurel. She always has such a beautiful smile on her face, and her Facebook posts are fantastic. So Laurel, come and speak to us.
I have to say, I love singing, and that song had some beautiful words, but I couldn't see the words without my glasses that I put up here. So otherwise I would have sang louder while y'all were singing. Okay. And my title for today is Connecting the Dots, but my professional title, I'm an early childhood quality coach with Child Care Resource and Referral. But I'm not here to talk about that. As she said, my name is Laurel. It is good to see everybody here today, and thank you for inviting me. I believe that all children deserve to feel loved and have a good start in life, and that's what I'm all about. This is one way that we can share our lives with others, including all children, and we can connect the dots to make their lives better. I did print my notes in large print, so at least I had the ability to do that might not have to put on my glasses. I'll have to see. I want to start with reading part of a book. I do work with child care agencies, and through my work, I've been doing that for 18 years. And so I love, and some of you know, I'm on the board for Imagination Library of Coffee County. So I love early literacy and children and books. So I'm going to read part of this book, and then I'm going to read more of it later. But this book is called The Good Egg. And when I first heard this book, I thought, oh, I can relate to that. Okay. And it's by Jory, John, and Pete Oswald. Something that we always make sure the children know that they're authors, and these are the names of the authors. And that you could write a book too, because they wrote this book. So. Oh, hello. I'm just rescuing this cat. Know why? Because I'm a good egg. It's true, I do all kinds of good things, like I'll carry your groceries, I'll water your plants, I'll change your tires, I'll paint your house. If you need any help whatsoever, I'm your good egg. I've always been a good egg. It's been this way from the start, even in my earliest days, back at the store. There were dozens of us living together under one recycled roof. There is Meg and Peg and Greg and Clegg and Shell and Shelley and Sheldon and Shelby and Egbert and Frank and the other Frank. Should I move so the people online can see?
Stand right behind the podium.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I was thinking about that. Hey, look, they can see the book, not me. There we go.
You're too close.
The other 11 eggs weren't on their best behavior. They weren't exactly good. They ignored their bedtime. They only ate sugary cereal. They threw tantrums. They cried for no reason. They broke their stuff on purpose. Meanwhile, I tried to take charge. I tried to fix their bad behavior. I tried to keep the peace because I'm a good egg. A very good egg. Nobody seemed to care, though. Every night I was exhausted. My head felt scrambled. I can relate to that. Then one fateful morning, I noticed some cracks in my shell. They were everywhere. My doctor said it was from all the pressure I was putting on myself, the pressure of making sure everybody was as good as me. I was cracking up, literally. Something had to change. I'd had enough. I said Meg and Peg and Greg and Clegg and Shell and etc., all the other eggs. I can't be the only good egg in a bad carton, I said. Blah, 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 they replied. I left that night. I wandered from town to town. Hours became days. The days became weeks. I lost track of time. I was alone. Okay, to be continued. Think about that good egg out on his journey. I think I might need to put my glasses on now. So, a few months ago, did somebody say something? No. A few months ago, Carrie emailed me and asked if I could talk about all the things I do. I can't decide if I want my glasses or not. For various organizations I'm involved with, and asked me what volunteering means to me. Often when people say things like this to me or talk to me about everything I do, I say, well, I do not do it all. I just connect the dots. I try to connect the dots. I try to connect people, and I'll talk more about that. That's why I titled my talk today, Connecting the Dots. In the past 20 years or so, I've been involved with many nonprofits and charitable organizations in Coffee County and the surrounding areas. I'm still involved with several, and some that I'll mention today, some that you've heard about here. One of the organizations that's near and dear to my heart that I've been chair of for at least 5 years now is Coffee County Community Advisory Board, or we call it CAB. And I want to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. Most of you know that I serve on the board with Imagination Library of Coffee County. I've actually come here and spoken about that. And I know some of you cherish the memory of Barbara Snyder, who was a strong, enthusiastic cheerleader for Imagination Library. She was an inspiration to us all. I'm also the secretary and board member for Isaiah 117 House of Coffee Franklin Grundy. And I know our director Susan has come and spoken about that here. It's a transitional home for children in foster care. And I can take questions about any of those organizations when we get towards the end. With all the things that I do, I say it's all about the children. And I like to say, my children are all the children of the world, and so I do what I can, when I can, for the children. I've always loved and still love anything I can do to help make children's lives better. Of course, that goes into families and the community. I work with Child Care Resource and Referral through Signal Centers of Chattanooga. We're contracted with the State Department of Human Services to work with child care agencies to help with quality child care and professional development for the teachers and the directors. And part of my work with the child care agencies is to connect them with resources in the community and community engagement. So I was encouraged by my supervisors to get involved with some community meetings and organizations. I gotta get back on camera, sorry. I tell people I speak for a living, so I like to go out in front of the podium, and I'll try not to do that for the sake of everybody online. Okay. So part of my work, again, is community involvement and connecting people with resources in order to help the children and the families, because child care directors and teachers, they see the needs that their families have, and they need to know what is out there in the community that can help them. Okay. And that's one way I help connect the dots. Okay. I get to know what the resources are through community engagement. I pass along that information. And during that process with my work, I grew to fall in love with some of the community organizations that I was getting involved with. So the three that I mentioned before are some of those that especially Imagination Library, when I first got involved with that. That's just, I love that, organization. And Coffee County Community Advisory Board, CAB, which I'm the chair of now, is one of those organizations that I just fell in love with. I've had some really good role models as predecessors with CAB. Most of you know some of great community members. Rosemary Crabtree and Evelyn Curley were the chairs before me. So I really had good people to look up with, and I try to follow in their footsteps when I can, but they've got big footsteps to follow. So now I want you to imagine an 18-year-old boy who's been in several different foster homes since the age of 10. Despite unstable experiences and the trauma that life has brought him, he overcame obstacles and graduated from high school with no family to call his own. He wants to start college, but he needs a laptop. He's working a restaurant job, but he needs a uniform. He needs some shoes to wear for that job. Most 18-year-olds have a family to turn to for that assistance in that transitional time of their life. But a young adult in this situation may have no support system. This is where CAB can come in, Community Advisory Board, and can be that support and help connect those dots to make a better life for this young adult. Now imagine a couple in their golden years who have not had young children in the house for 30 years or more. They're living in an efficiency apartment on a fixed income, and they're faced with raising their grandchild after all of this time due to parental incarceration, substance abuse, neglect. This couple needs a bed for that child. They may need a bigger house to house their grandchildren. They may need to move. They may need a dresser, a bed. They may need to learn, about the resources that are in the community. So this is where CAB can come in and connect the dots for that family, so those grandparents can make a better life for their grandchild. Now, lastly, imagine a young mother who has been evicted from her apartment due to life circumstances, who has to live in her car or in a tent or on a friend's couch to get by. She needs a safe space to stay until she can get back on her feet. And she does not want to risk losing her children to state custody because of these circumstances. This is where CAB can come in and help connect the dots for that mother to make a better life for this young mother and her children. These are just a few examples of things that I have seen over the past around 20 years now, being involved with Community Advisory Board, or CAB. And while I'm thinking of it, CAB is in every single county in Tennessee because it is written into law that each county has a community advisory board that collaborates with the Department of Children's Services to help connect resources and help families like the ones we're talking about here. Okay, it is all volunteers. They work hand in hand with caseworkers from DCS to meet the needs and raise awareness of the issues faced by the county's foster children. These needs are great, and unfortunately state funding only goes so far. Also, DCS employees cannot solicit funds or accept donations, and that's where CAB comes into play, to connect those dots, as I say. It's the role to be an intermediary that works to increase awareness, raise funds, and provides means to help children and families. Now you may be thinking, well, I thought foster parents receive funds from the state for fostering children. Well, they do, but many times that funding only goes so far and cannot cover extra things. For instance, summer camp fees for a child with disabilities, or something that a child is going to enrich a child's life, extracurricular activities. There was a child that earned a trip to Washington, D.C., but needed help with that trip a while back, CAB helped out with this. We've also purchased iPads for developmentally delayed foster children whose teachers recommended that device that would help them. And then countless and countless and countless bunk beds and baby beds, so grandmothers and other family members could take children into their home and prevent the children from going into state custody. These are just a few examples of dozens of ways we've helped over the past 20 years or so. We've conducted diaper drives, underwear drives, sock drives, and just because sometimes these children lack those basic necessities. We try to recognize the children who have overcome all obstacles and graduated from high school, even though they've maybe been in the foster care system all their life. We always make sure that we recognize them. We give them a gift, a laptop, a gift card. In the past, we've done graduation parties or just taken them out to lunch to let them know that someone cares. We've done luggage drives for children that needed that luggage. And in the past, we have done Christmas for all the children in Coffee County that are in state custody. But luckily, there's organizations that have been popping up to help out with these kinds of things. And a great organization I want to shout out to is Kids to Love out of Huntsville. And they provide Christmas presents and backpacks for all the children in state custody in Middle Tennessee and beyond. And of course, down in Alabama, Tennessee Valley. Or was I at that? And then many of these needs, some of these needs are also met by the Isaiah 117 house if the children go into the house for that transitional time and then go to a foster family. But that doesn't always happen. That's where CAB comes in. Sometimes it's going to a grandparent to prevent the children going into state custody or prevent a mother from losing her children because she doesn't have the housing that she needs. And there's some new organizations I've even just recently heard about that I want to learn more about that are trying to help meet these needs. So they are helping connect those dots also. And so this is really near and dear to my heart. We're always looking for ways to make life a little bit easier for the foster children because it's not their fault. They need to realize that the community cares about them and no one has forgotten them. We have no overhead or salaries or anything like that. This is just a volunteer thing I've been doing for quite a while. Every penny that we collect goes towards funds for the children. And speaking of funds, several years ago, I know it's been over 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, Dustin Lynch donated a big chunk of money to CAB, so that was really nice. But those funds are dwindling because we're really not out there as much as a lot of organizations and able to do fundraisers and things like that. But we have, Kiwanis donates from 41A Fest. There's other ways. We've had some grants. Evelyn wrote a grant for funding and things like that. But we're not out there like a lot of the nonprofits are. Where was I? And of course, all the expenditures are approved by a 4-person board, which I'm part of. And then, of course, everything that we do goes through the Department of Children's Services. A caseworker sees a need, and they let their resource linkage coordinator know the need, and then she sends out an email. That we've got an email list. I'll get out a piece of paper if anybody wants to be on the email list. We have an email list that goes out to lots of people in the community. I know Robin's on the email list, and not only do they let people know what the needs are of some of the children, so we can see what resources in the community can help with that, but they also send out things that are going on in the community, resources, for instance, the free dental day that's coming up, and fundraisers for Children's Advocacy Center, Horseplay, all of the fundraisers that are going on. What was I getting to with that? So that email list, when it goes out to a lot of organizations, citizens, churches, nonprofits, agencies. And first we see if there is somebody that can help. You know, before I'm going to go buy a bed, maybe see, is there somebody else that has a bed? And so I try to make sure we're good stewards of the money. I always wait a little bit before we spend the money that we have in our CAB funds, because many times there are people out in the community that are going to help with something. And if they can't, that's where we come in and connect those dots for our community. So I want to give you a few more examples of things that we have purchased with our funds lately. Just last week, we paid a rental deposit for a mother of 4 children that, due to an unfortunate situation last year, her children were taken into state custody, but then they were staying with relatives. Well, it's time for the mother to be able to get the children back, but she had no stable place to stay, and the relatives were unfortunately getting tired of having the children in their home. So we paid a rental deposit for this mother so she could get into an apartment and get her children back, and they can all be back together. Because that's the biggest thing we want to see, is the children being with their parents if the parents are able. Back around the snowstorm we had a while back, or the freezing temperatures, we bought several heaters for families that had no heat. And in the summer, we'll buy fans for families that have no air conditioning. I recently bought a futon couch for a mother who, an organization had provided beds for all the children, but the mother was sleeping on the couch. And so we got a futon for them so she could unfold that and sleep on the futon in the evening. There is an organization now that's moved into Coffee County from the Jasper area, and they're called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and they've been providing a lot of beds, so that helps us, again, freeing up that money for other things. I know at times, a lot of times last year I had 3 beds sitting in my living room because I had ordered them for some children, and Sleep in Heavenly Peace said, oh, we'll take care of the beds. I'm like, oh, I've already got 3 beds, but I'll leave them here till they are needed. But of course they were needed eventually. And gas cards, sometimes children with special needs or social, emotional, mental problems need to get to appointments, whether it's in this county or in Murfreesboro or Nashville. And so we've provided gas cards for that. Even a vacuum cleaner I bought back last year because there was a family living in an old home that had a hard time keeping it clean and sanitary for the children. And a lot of times, I think back of 2020, I paid for a lot of hotel stays for families that needed somewhere to stay until they got into a safe space for their children. So I think I was driving to Manchester a lot in 2020 with my mask on and behind the glass talking to the person at the motel to be able to get a family in there. Of course, beds and dressers, I can't say enough about beds. It's a lot of beds. Door alarms sometimes we'll buy for families that are taking a child in that may wander or flee. And also things for baby-proofing a house. If you haven't had a baby in the house in a long time, that's one thing to think about. So items to baby-proof a home I've gone to buy at Lowe's many times. The list goes on and on for these children and families. Our group, we have been meeting via Zoom since 2020, and we never went back because a lot of organizations that we collaborate with, maybe in Columbia, Murfreesboro, Nashville, and we just have a bigger group if we just do it on Zoom. So we've been doing that. Second Wednesday of the month at 11:30, we have speakers just like y'all have speakers here. We have speakers at every meeting, some of the same speakers that y'all hear, and then some of the nonprofits in Tullahoma and beyond. And we also are able to network and connect the dots again. Oh, we need this, you provide this, you know, and people connect. I love seeing people connect there. Again, the email list has resources, information, updates, and of course requests from the Department of Children's Services. So how can you help with Coffee County CAB? If anybody wants to do a fundraiser, we love that. We also need to recruit more foster families. We've tried some ways to do that in the past. I haven't revisited much lately. We currently have about 102 children from Coffee County that are in state custody right now, and it usually stays around 100. And they're not always in Coffee County because we don't have enough foster families in Coffee County for them. They may be in Knoxville or Memphis or even in Kentucky or Alabama or Georgia. What am I going to say about that? The children, okay. Basically, I need to get back on my script because I was getting off script and I forgot what I was going to say. Okay. And how can you help with Imagination Library that I mentioned? Okay, we've got a Green Eggs and Ham fundraiser coming up. To switch the subject here. You could join the board. You can assist us with events. I have tickets for the Green Eggs and Ham breakfast too. How can you help with Isaiah 117 House? We have lots of volunteer opportunities. You support our fundraisers. We have a golf tournament coming up on April 26th, if any of you are golfers. Okay. Back to how I've been able to connect the dots. I was in the DCS office one day doing something in there, and one of the workers said, "Hey, we've got a whole bunch of backpacks left over from last year for back to school. You know what we can do with them?" I was like, "I'm not sure, but I'll keep my eyes and ears peeled." And later I was talking to somebody that was organizing a back to school event. This was a few years ago, and I said, or they said, "We need more backpacks." And so I said, "Oh, you need to talk to the Department of Children's Services. They've got extra backpacks." So it's those little things, talking to people, knowing what's out there, and connecting everybody. So that's why I always think connecting the dots. I'm just connecting the dots. I don't do all the work. I just try to connect the dots. So what if everyone in the world did their part to connect the dots? What if everybody in this room did? And I already know many of you do many, many things to do what I call connecting the dots. I see many of you out in the community donating to causes, supporting fundraisers, participating in outreach, and of course gathering here together every Sunday morning. So at this point, I know you're wondering what happened with the good egg. We're going to find out. And as I read it, think about how you can learn a lesson from the good egg. Where's the good egg? Okay. Stay behind the podium. So remember, the good egg was out wandering around because he felt a little frazzled. Out there on the road, under the stars, I really tried to focus on myself and what I need. I took walks. I read books. I floated in the river. I wrote in my journal. I found simple moments to be quiet. I breathed in. I breathed out. I even started painting. For once, I found time for me. And guess what? Little by little, the cracks in my shell started to heal. My head no longer felt scrambled. I started to feel like myself again. So I made a big decision. I'm returning to my old carton and my friends. Besides, I'm kind of lonely out here. This time I know what I need to do. I'll try not to worry so much. I'll be good to my fellow eggs while also being good to myself. Here we go. Everybody missed me. I missed them too. Hello, Meg. Howdy, Peg. Hey, Greg. Greetings, Clegg. What's up, Shell? Aloha, Shelly. Heyo, Sheldon. Hi, Shelby. Good day, Egbert. What's happening, Frank? Howdy do, other Frank. Sure, every once in a while, somebody's still a little bit bad. but it's not like before. Here's what I realized. The other eggs weren't perfect, and I don't have to be either. I'm okay with that. Yep, the old carton is back together. We're a solid dozen again. It's good to be home. So again, when I first heard that book, I'm like, I can relate to that. Despite everything everybody says I do, I've had a lot of stress over the past 5 to 10 years dealing with grief and gaining guardianship with my mother. And when Carrie emailed me, somebody had just shot my dog and killed my dog. And that was my best friend. So that's why I was happy to see the dog this morning and get some puppy love and some puppy therapy. So I almost said no because it was devastating. But I still, try to continue to do everything that I can do to make life better for the children and the communities. I didn't mean to do this right now. This was, I was just ad-libbing. So remember, when you're out there connecting the dots in your community, make sure that you're also taking care of yourself so that you can best take care of others. And one of my heroes in life is Mother Teresa. And so my very favorite quote from Mother Teresa is, God does not ask us to do great things, but little things with great love. And I try to do that. So how will you connect the dots in your world? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurel. I really appreciate that. I was right to ask you to come and to share all that you do. And I think you also shared why you do it. I think it was pretty obvious. Let's close with our standard closing. It's page 414 in your hymnal, Psalm 414. As we stand, sorry, I'm new at this. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return.